Indriyebhya parahi artha artebhya cha param manaha manasa astu para buddhi buddhi atma mahan para. From the Katha Upanishad, this verse tells us that the Indriyebhya, the sense organs, are parahi, higher than artha, the sense objects. The manaha, the mind, is higher than the objects and the things of the world, and the buddhi is para, is higher than the manasa, the mind. But the Atma Mahan, however, Mahan, the great soul, the real self, is higher than even the buddhi, the intellect. My dear mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, all children of one God, my fellow souls, namaste. Today my subject is a higher level of thinking. This should be our goal. How to achieve a higher level of thinking. I've always said that if we want to change what happens in our lives, we have to change what we do. To change what we do, we have to change how we think. It begins with thought. So we have to understand that we come to Mandir and we are looking to raise our level of thinking every time we come to Mandir. We come in, we leave a slightly higher, slightly elevated level of thinking, spiritual person. So in our spiritual path, we seek to achieve a higher level of thinking. Let's see how we can do this. Because it's like a series of steps. Next week, I ought to be a better, higher spiritual person than I am this week. Next month, I ought to be much higher. Next year, I ought to be a higher spiritual person than I am now. That kind of advanced series of steps should happen until I have become one of a purified thinking, elevated, divine thinking. We begin our Havan and we pray, Om Vangme Asyastu. And we pray, God, bless my power of speech. Bless this power of speech that you've given us, O God, so that I say words of love and words of wisdom. I also say that we should pray that we do not abuse this power of speech that He's given us. But we find that that happens very often. So many of us are caught up in this non-stop talking mode. We talk and we talk and we talk and we talk and we love to hear ourselves talking. We talk until we fall asleep. And that's when we stop. So I ask you this. If we cannot stop talking, if we cannot stop making noise, how can we find our own internal peace and quiet? How can we do that? This is why the Swamis and Gurujis teaches us, practice one day with no talking. Do that and see how peaceful your mind becomes. Personally, I'd rather be quiet. I do not like to talk. I'm told I do it very well, but I don't like to talk. Given a choice, I would rather not. But when we go downstairs for meals, I also believe in making myself approachable, that you feel free coming to me with questions. So I come to you and I talk. It's outside of my, what I would say, my internal comfort zone. But I do that because that's what it takes. Many of us would agree that being quiet, when you see someone who's quiet and contemplative, it is a mark of a higher thinker. One who do not waste his time and waste his breath He would rather, in his mind, work on something, having conversation with himself, looking for those very same answers to the questions each of us have. But instead, we make noise. You see, talking a lot is a mark of a person who's yet searching for himself or herself. They don't know, they have not identified, they have not started on the journey of identifying who is that real self, who is the real me. Many of us are so busy in our lives. I know people tell themselves, that they have children, and I can't wait for them to leave and go to school so I can have some peace. And then the kids leave and they turn on the TV. Or they pick up the phone to talk to someone else. What kind of peace is that? That's the same peace that they're thinking about, but how can we find peace with doing that? We must realize that to find peace, we must first quiet the mind. And to quiet the mind, we must first quiet the body. The advanced Swamis, they can find peace of mind doing things and being things and moving around and all of that. We are not advanced yet. We have to quiet the body. Sit calm, relax, make no noise. Quiet the breath. And then we start to find peace of body. For us, peace of mind comes after we have achieved peace of body. So those of us at the beginning of our journey, we have to seek to make the body peaceful. First, we make the voice peaceful. In meditation and practice of mantra japa, an internal focus, we use mantras to explore. We use mantras to explore the depths of ourselves. I don't know how many of you do japa, but all of us should be doing japa. There should be a part of your mind that is always in japa mode. You know how you have that song? Sometimes you hear a song and it's just there. You go to work, there's that song playing in your head. You come home, there's that song. You just cannot get rid of this song. That should be a part of the mind, should always be in japa mode. Your mantra should always be going like that in the back of your mind. Bhagavad Gita tells us about becoming a true bhakta. Man manaha bhava mad bhakta mad yaji mam namaskuru mam iva ishyasi yuktva evam atmanam matparayanaha. Sri Krishna says that, oh man, oh children, my bhakta, always engage your mind. Mat manaha, in thinking of God. Your mind, there's a part of your mind that should always be in that flow of that kind of peace within. It does not mean thinking about a God someplace else. No, that same presence of God is within your own selves. We know that. Yet we go trying to reach and touch God someplace else. And we fail to realize His presence within. Oh Yaji, worshipper, Ishyasi, come to God. Be disciplined, practice discipline to get there. Again, it begins with discipline of voice. Practice being quiet. Be yuktva evam, absorbed in God, and mat parayanaha, devoted to God, and you will find peace and oneness with Him. So one day I was discussing with my wife and I said that, I wonder what the world would be like if we all had a quota of words to use per day. It's interesting, right? Imagine that you had, let's say, 7,000 words. I know some of us that by 8 o'clock in the morning we're done. Mouth works and nothing comes out. And for some of us, we'd go to bed with still a surplus. Those who would go to bed with still a surplus, I would say, is achieving some kind of peace of mind, wouldn't you say? There is much truth to the saying that a half-empty vessel makes a lot of splashing noise. We know that. We know that, and we see that every day. It has just a little bit of water or the liquid and it splashes around. We see someone talking too much, we says empty vessel makes a lot of noise. We don't mean it insultingly. Many of the people who talk non-stop do so because they look for love and appreciation from everyone else. They want to feed that ego. They want to feel that, well, I matter. Everybody needs to recognize me. And that is because they have not yet begun their spiritual journey, and this is why those of us here who look up at the sky this morning and we see it raining and we see it not nice, and we still braved it and we says, yeah, it's nice sleeping weather, but no, I'll get up and go to Mandir. I would say that you are in a spiritual journey. And keep that journey going. And when you leave today, leave with a higher level of thinking. Learn something that you will apply in your life, and your life will get better. So much of what we talk about, we don't even need to talk about, because again, the questions that we ask ourselves, many times the answer is already within, but we fail to look. Let's look at this one fairly extreme example. Right here at Mandir, someone asked me, where does the soul go after death? Seems like a valid question. But to the spiritual person, when you go within and you look for the answer within, you will realize that where refers to space, a place. After refers to time. Goes refer to movement, that it goes someplace. But we know that soul is an entity that is beyond space and time. So in a way, the question makes no sense. But we have not given ourselves that kind of time to internalize the question and look for the answer within. To the thinker, it makes no sense. What I'm getting at is simply this. First, find your silence and your higher level of thinking, and you will find all the answers to the questions we ask. The knowledge of the Vedas is buried within every single human mind. It is not a series of books that was written. That knowledge, that divine knowledge is already within us. But unless we go within and we contemplate and we read and we look for those answers, we're not really utilizing the knowledge. Chupke phero man ki mala, chupke dekhe murli wala. Chupke phero man ki mala, चुपके देखे मुरली वाला. जंतर में नहीं मंतर में नहीं, जंतर में नहीं मंतर में नहीं, धरती में नहीं सागर में नहीं, जहाँ याद करो भगवान वही, जहाँ याद करो भगवान वही. You can only visualize God when you chant His name in silence, and you withdraw from all of this stuff that's happening around you. We sing this bhajan over and over and over, yet we don't do what the mantra says to do. Jantar mein nahi, mantar mein nahi. God is not in empty chantings and the chantings and everything we do. God is within. God is within the mind. Go within and seek God. My fellow souls, a person who does this quiet, silent way, he's on the path of pratyahara. What is pratyahara? Pratyahara is that state when the mind has become naturally at peace at peace with itself and at peace with everything around us. That is pratyahara. The person walking on this path always remains calm. You'll find him smiling, calm. Nothing interrupts his calmness. Become one of those higher level of thinkers that walks on the path of pratyahara. But what we do, we look for peace from the wife. Oh, my wife makes me peaceful. My husband makes me peaceful. We don't realize that no, peace is within. This is where I find my peace. But I look for that peace elsewhere, outside of myself. When we do our japa, there's 3 levels of chanting mantra. The first is verbalizing. Others can hear you. The second is going silent. Your mouth, your lips might be working, but you're silent. You're quieting yourself. You're not hearing that disruption you yourself are causing. And the third is when you go within. And now that, like Swami Vedabharati, Guruji said, your mantra becomes just a stream of thought. You don't hear it and nothing moves, but you're thinking mantra. This is where we ought to be to find that internal peace. Not looking outside of ourselves. You see, the aim of japa, or continuous repetition of mantra, is that all thoughts and emotions are replaced by that single stream of thought, of vibration in our minds. And when we do that, we find we get to that part, that deeper silence that brings us peace. Real meditation begins only at that moment when we call that mantra, when we become one with mantra. That's when we find peace within. We have to remember, my fellow souls, that the biggest noise the mind hears is one's own voice. That's the biggest noise the mind hears. Talk as quietly as you can. Cover your ears and you can hear what's going on inside of you. That's how powerful that voice is. The mind is always involved in its own internal chatter. And that's what we have to quiet. So if I'm having a discussion with somebody and people interrupt you, and when somebody interrupts me, I stop. Go ahead, talk. Talk. If you want to hear yourself talk, talk. It's okay. I don't have to say anything. We should get to that point where we're not offended because somebody interrupts us. It's okay. Talk. Because eventually they will understand that they need to find that same internal peace that you are practicing at that moment. I'll share with you, Swami Rama used to say this thing, Karni aur Samarni, which means that we should learn to remember busy. We should learn to remain busy, but always be in that flow of japa, of God in our mind. When we do this, my fellow souls, we can achieve a higher level of thinking, because what we are doing is we're quieting voice, quieting body, and applying what we are learning from Vedic thinking, and bring our higher level of thinking along. This is what all of us, I challenge each one of you, that you come into Mandir, when you leave with a higher level of thinking. I'll give you one example of something, my personal experience. A few years ago, I have a lot of noisy people love to talk in the office. And I put up a sign in my office. If you walk into my office, you'll see as you walk in, there's an Om sign. And under the sign, there's a bright yellow paper. And on it is printed the silence zone. After I installed that sign, people came in and automatically now their voice lowered when they're talking to me. Eventually, outside my office, those who would talk and be loud, they started toning it down. And eventually, everybody else started talking in a lower voice because they didn't want to offend Jag. And in their heads, they know that, they're loud. What I'm saying is this. First, change ourselves. We want to change others. First, change ourselves. When we change ourselves, by default, others look at us and they change. I didn't tell anybody to stop talking. I didn't do that. All I did was I create my own silent zone, and everybody found it necessary to live within what I've implemented in my office. And by default, without saying a word, I changed them. I changed some of them to the point where I sign my emails with Namaste. And many of them come in the morning and they tell me Namaste with hands clasped, better than our Hindus, brothers and sisters. Without saying a word. So by changing myself, we change others. Let's not worry about changing others. Let's focus on changing ourselves. Let's focus on raising our own level of thinking. Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. Those are profound words, my friends. Let us live our life focusing on raising our own level of thinking. And when we do this by default, we will be raising the level of thinking of others we interact with. Those around us will be motivated to raise their own level of thinking. So let us change ourselves first. Trinvanto Vishwamarian, and we will make the universe noble. My fellow souls, today I ask you, and I challenge you, that when you come to Mandir, promise yourself that you will, when you step out of Mandir, you'll be one notch higher in your spiritual path, in your spiritual growth. And if you do that every single Sunday, we will definitely achieve a higher level of thinking. I thank all of you for being so kind and patient and attentive. Let us clasp our hands in prayers. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. All is complete, all is perfect, all is complete. With love and humility in my heart, I say Namaste to each and every one of you. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti Om.